Well, it's the video you've been waiting for. That's right, it's the birthday Q&A. Alright folks, before I begin, I just want to say thank you so much for all of the birthday messages you've left for me on YouTube, Instagram and Twitter. It means the world to me, and to celebrate the birthday with a Q&A video is just incredible. As I've said before, it's been 2 years since I last did one of these and a lot has changed. Also, we just hit over 1,100 subscribers, so I don't know what to say other than thank you so much. Now, I've got my trusty phone with me this time, as I did last time. Different phone this time, but same sort of thing. I'll be reading off all the questions from YouTube, Twitter and Instagram, and then, well, let's just have some fun and get straight into it. So my first question comes from Bazooka93, and they say, are games art and why? This question is very difficult because, in my opinion, games are art. But as he said, why? Why are they art? Well, in my personal opinion, games are art because when the creator makes the game in question, they're transporting you into their world, their landscape. And obviously when you do that, you have to have a style, an artistic direction, along with all sorts of different complicated parts of the game to come together that makes the experience in question. I mean, for example, you look at RPGs and most of them are fantasy themed or based, and you know, in real life you wouldn't see a lot of places that look like games like, say, Final Fantasy. And obviously as well, the people who make games are expressing themselves in all sorts of ways, not just in the artistic sense with graphics and textures and things like that, but also in their stories as well, because every story isn't exactly the same. I mean, some may have similar themes, but they're not entirely the same. So to me, games are art because the people behind it are allowed to express themselves in a way that we would not normally see in real life. Much like how films are art in the sense that there's different styles, different genres, different kinds of people, different kinds of direction. So again, this is why to me, games, just like films, is an art form. It may not be the same art form as traditional art or digital art today, but all the same, it's still a piece of art. So my next question comes from Alpha Proto. So Alpha Proto, nice to see you. And he asks me, I was born in the 1980s, so I grew up with retro games and systems. You were born in the 1990s, so most of the older video game hardware had already come and gone by the time you noticed video games. What made you want to go back and play the games you missed out on? Why didn't the retro look turn you off to games? Why not just look ahead to current games? So, this question, I understand what he's saying. I was born in the 90s, but I think what he doesn't realise is that I was born in the early 90s, so I definitely have vivid memories of CRTs, older consoles, older TV shows, and I was very fortunate to have a thing called cable back in those times. So a lot of TV shows that maybe he watched when he was younger, I watched as well. And I'm talking shows all the way back to the 1930s. That's how great cable was. I could watch shows that had come out way back in the 1930s all the way to the present day at that time. So yeah, no, if I was born in 1999, then yeah, I'd understand. But no, I was born early enough in the 1990s to have the ability to play all sorts of retro consoles. Although I only owned PlayStation 2 eventually, Nintendo Game Boy Color and then Game Boy Advance. So while I didn't own a lot of the systems, I did play them, and I do remember CRTs. I'll always remember that huge CRT TV we had, which was a huge grey box that was 30 inches, and it was just a beast. It was immense. We called it the special TV because it was the nicer TV out of all the other CRTs I had. And actually, the last time I had a CRT was 2012. When I used to play my PS2, I used to have a very small CRT TV for the longest time. The only reason I stopped using it was because it broke down, and that's it. Had it not, I would have kept using it until about now. Now his other question was what was it about the other retro systems that didn't turn me off, or what made me go back to them? Well, it's pretty simple. Like I said, I was born in a time where consoles like that were around, and I just love it. I just love going back to games that I missed out on. When I was younger, there were all sorts of games I used to read about in magazines, you know, the PlayStation magazines, and there were a list of games that they had in the index page at the very back, in the UK at least, and they had all of the reviews that they had of games that they looked at the time, and a lot of them just appealed to me, and I really wanted to try them out, but I was never old enough to do so, and of course, I didn't get a job until properly recently, so, you know, that gave me the opportunity to go and play the games, and that's why I still look at retro games today. I've always loved them. Even when I was growing up, I still was playing the PlayStation 2 for the longest time. So that helped me appreciate retro games a lot more. I've now got a massive setup, well I say massive, I've got a setup now which accepts retro systems very easily now through my computer. And I don't know, it's hard to explain why retro games are still appealing to me, other than I grew up with them, I was still playing them for the longest time. I like modern games, I like modern systems, I've got a PlayStation 5 for crying out loud, but even then, nothing's ever taken away from me the fact that I love retro games. Going forward has not made me not want to go backwards as well. It's a complicated question, okay? Okay, so I've got a funny one from one of my co-workers called Edward, and he said, "Are you actually going to do any work at work?" So, yes, Edward, yes I am. Obviously, no matter what day it is, even if it's my birthday, I will always work to the best of my ability, and I feel that I did do that on my birthday when I went to work. So my next question comes from Matt Cross Media, and he says, "Nice, I was gonna ask how your gaming setup is like. Do you prefer playing on a monitor or TV, big or small display?" In terms of my gaming setup, I don't really think about, you know, what I use as long as it does the job. Currently, I use a big TV, a big 4K TV. I use a 40-inch Samsung 4K TV, and, you know, it's done fine, does the job, looks good. Obviously, getting a 40-inch monitor is very unlikely today, and if you did, it's more expensive. So obviously, the TV option is cheaper, but the TV is just a display. You know, I run all my stuff through the PC itself using its HDMI. So again, the TV is just a display. It's nothing that important to me. On the PC, I obviously like bigger resolutions and bigger display sizes, because when I do editing, it's much easier for me to see what's going on. But to be fair, at the same time, I've been using my M1 MacBook Pro to do editing, and that's got a, I think, 13-inch display, and again, it's great, you know, highly detailed, great panel. It's quite small compared to the 4K TV that I've got over there, but to me, it works better for me because it's a quicker it's a quicker device for doing editing, and that's what I need right now. And also, I'm a huge fan of portable gaming. I've been using my PSP a lot lately, and even though that's got a very small screen, it's just fantastic. But to tell you the truth, my gaming setup is not impressive. All it is my glass table. It's got my monitor or TV, in this case my display, PC at the bottom, consoles off to the left hand side, and then just a mess of wires underneath, along with the OSSC. So, you know, and I've got my headphones as well, which I use for audio stuff. So, not that impressive, but it gets the job done, you know. Okay, my next question is from Altar Records, and they ask, "Happy birthday in advance, mate. Thank you. My question for you is cereal a soup? Explain your answer." I don't even know where to start with that. Is cereal a soup? Is cereal a soup? It's not a soup. I guess that's because with soup, you have to heat it up in a microwave or an oven, and, well, I think you do anyway. I don't know if there are some soups where you can eat it as is. Obviously with cereal you have to put on like milk, for example. I don't know if some people don't eat cereal with milk, that's fine, but I think with soups, most soups have like a sauce, have to be in a can and they have to be heated up before you can eat it properly, so you don't get an upset stomach. With cereal, you just put on some milk, or you don't, and then you can eat it. I gotta be honest, I really don't know how to explain why cereal is or isn't a soup. That's just a very out there question that I've never had to think about in my life, so I apologize if the answer I've just given was disappointing, but what can I do? So my next question, and I apologize for your name, I think it's Tio Tio Ejok. Anyway, he's a great guy, by the way. He does videos similar to mine if you love retro games and retro upscaling and stuff like that. Now, he asked me, first of all, happy 28th birthday. Thank you very much. My question, how affordable are retro games, PS1, PS2, Dreamcast, N64, and so on, where you live? In Colombia, it is not very common, and they tend to be more expensive than normal. Now, unfortunately, I'm not Colombian, and I don't study the Colombian market or the Colombian prices, so I don't know how strong the pound is compared to the Colombian currency, which it might be euro, because it's obviously I don't know. So that's my geography for you. It was not very good. Now, obviously, in the UK, the retro gaming scene here is fantastic for the most part. It varies from system to system. Obviously, PS1, PS2, yeah, plenty of choices, no problem there. Dreamcast, yeah, quite good, but you know, it's not amazing, but it's sufficient. Sega Saturn, obviously, you want to go to the Japanese market, really. N64 is quite good here. Master System is very good here in Europe. So it all depends. And that's for prices. Well, it varies. Obviously, PS2 is super cheap here. PS1, it's mostly cheap, but some games are starting to creep up in prices in this country. N64 is, I think, stable. It's okay. It's sort of affordable. Dreamcast, quite affordable for now. Sega Saturn, there are some affordable games, but again, Japanese market is the better place for you to go if you're looking to get into a Sega Saturn collection. So it just varies from game to game and from system to system, but the systems themselves are quite cheap. PS1, PS2, 40 quid, 20 quid easy. Sega Saturn, about 60, 70. Dreamcast, about 50. And also, I'll tell you what is very cheap right now that I've gone into, the Microsoft Xbox. That console's about 50 quid for a good one, for a decent one. And then the games are all like less than £10, you know, and they're ones that you would want as well. So it just depends on the system. But retro gaming, for the most part, is fairly cheap. But then you've got some more, you know, some more out there consoles like 3DO and TurboGrafx and stuff like that, which are, yeah, different story. So there you go. Okay, so my next question comes from Preston. Yep. And they ask, happy birthday, I have 2 questions. Do you have a girlfriend, boyfriend? And have you considered exploring other platforms like TikTok and OnlyFans? Nope, I'm as single as a mule, and if I wasn't, I'd be looking for a girlfriend, not a boyfriend. And that's for the second question. I have considered expanding before, but it never got me any real success. I don't like TikTok. It's just not for me. I know it's popular and everyone loves it and all this stuff, but it's just not for me. I don't find it for me. It's just, as a content creator, it's not for me due to the content that I make, and just on a personal side, I just don't find the humor there that funny. It's very one note, and it kind of has the same-ish punchline, so it's, you know, it's just not for me. I know some people my age and above like it, along with the younger generation who made it popular, but it's just not for me. OnlyFans, obviously no. Do you think I do an OnlyFans? No. Okay, thank you. I'm not interested in that, so I'm not going to say that I won't expand in the future, but for the time being, my focus is on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. I know there are other video platforms out there, but for now, they're just not for me. I'm always trying to figure out how to go about these things if I do decide to do it. But I find that when I try and do it, it takes up too much time, and then I want to go back and focus more of my time on making videos. So that's why, for now, I haven't expanded beyond YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. So we have one from Daft Blake here, and she asks, what are your favourite YouTube shows, i.e. the ones you like to watch? And it doesn't matter, you know, if they correspond to retro gaming or not. Let's see. So for now, I'd like to watch quite a few things. So the ones that come to mind are ETA Prime, because he does retro emulation stuff. I love watching Hardware Unboxed because they're the best people to go to for modern tech reviews and doing benchmarks and stuff like that, because they do a heavy emphasis on comparing GPU to GPU, or for showing off how well a GPU does in a lot of titles. I love watching GameSack. I love watching My Life in Gaming. I love watching I love watching news bloopers and things like that, just to keep me going and make me laugh. Okay, so my next question comes from Mark Holmes, and he asks, to be 28 again, if you weren't spending significant amounts of your free time outside of work on producing content, are there any other interests or hobbies you would pursue instead? That's a good question, Mark, and I do. I love photography, I love videography, I miss blogging. I'd love to go outside again properly and do some stuff like that again. And I've also got a significant interest in going to events, so you know, Comic-Cons or car events or gaming events, things like that. And even just seeing friends again. I'd miss seeing my friends again, so there's a few things, but mostly I'd love to just get out there and start taking photos or videos again. That's something that I would love to pursue. Maybe when the coronavirus is a bit better, I can do it again, but it's a bit like this at the moment in this country, so we shall see. We shall see. Okay, so the next question comes from Pinkwave Gamer, and she asks, first of all, how in the hell do we have the exact same birthday? I know, I didn't know that. Happy birthday to you, by the way. Secondly, about the question, what is your favorite fighting game of all time and why? That is the toughest question, because I play so many, and I've got lots of favorites. I think my favorite of all time though is Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3. Why? Well, it's not the best fighting game in the world, but I think for me, it was the first Dragon Ball Z game that I absolutely felt, you know, did the show justice and the anime justice. Me and my brother used to play that game so much. We used to burn our hands on the analog sticks. We couldn't get enough of it. It was just incredible. That game did everything right, and I've actually bought 4 copies of it because the first 2, me and my brother just destroyed the disc. The third one, my dog destroyed it, thanks Sparky. And I just bought a new one this year, so I've been playing it again, and it's fantastic. Honestly, that game does everything right, not just for the TV, not just for the anime, but just as a game in general. It's just, it's so good. Hopefully one day I'll do a video about Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3 just to show you how good it truly is, and how it's still, in my opinion, the best 3D Dragon Ball Z game of all time, bar none. It's absolutely fantastic. I love that game, always will, and I'm so happy that I've got it once again to play on my PlayStation 2. Okay, we've got Azalea 22 next, and I haven't seen you in a while, Azalea. Here's her question. She's got a lot of them. Hey Afro, and happy early birthday, or happy birthday now in this case. Question 1. What is your ultimate end goal for YouTube? There's no end goal for YouTube for me. It's just to make content in the highest quality possible, and to make sure that I adore doing it regardless of what happens to me and what happens to the channel. It doesn't matter if I grow to 10,000 or 2,000 or whatever subscribers. As long as I love what I'm doing, that's the most important thing, along with the content being at the level of quality standard that I expect. And that's basically it, just to make the highest quality content possible, no matter what it is. Question 2. Will you ever do live streaming? I definitely want to do live streams again, but at the moment, my work along with other personal things is holding me back at the moment, so it's not really easy for me at the moment to do live streams, but I really want to do them again in the future, so we'll have to see. But for now, they're not going to be a focus or priority on my YouTube or basically just in my life. That, you know, if live streams do happen, they're just going to be like a side thing, nothing that I'm going to be really putting all my focus into. But like my YouTube videos, I will make them as fun as I can, as much as I can. So question 3, do you prefer DC or Marvel? I don't really prefer either. I mean, I like superheroes from both camps, so to me, I've not got a preference. I mean, okay, I find myself playing more Marvel games than DC, but that's because the Marvel games are actually good, and the DC ones are always disappointing. So to me, I haven't got a preference. I'm not somebody who's in a camp for superheroes. I like them. If you make good things about them or on them, I'm in for it. But I just haven't. I don't really prefer one catalogue of superheroes to the other. It's just Marvel does more good with them than DC does. If DC did more good with them over Marvel, I'd go with DC. So there's your answer. I've got no preference really. Question 4, what kind of pizza is your favourite? So meat feast or pepperoni plus ham. The pizza has to be deep, or what's it called? Deep pan or deep crust, whatever the hell it's called. Yeah, deep pan. And that's it. That's an easy recommendation for me. And then question 5, what was your favourite thing from E3 2021? I'll be honest, Azalea, this year, unlike any other year, I haven't kept up with E3 at all. I didn't watch any of the E3s live because they were always intersecting with my work. So I don't have a favourite moment from E3. I just know that the Horizon game, the new one, Forbidden West, that game had its gameplay reveal, and I did watch that, so I was very impressed. But otherwise, I haven't got a favourite moment from E3 this year. I just didn't watch it, and I'm just too busy right now. So I'm sorry about that. So my next question comes from Studio PLKS, and they ask, happy birthday in advance, Affro. I have a few questions. Which content creators would you say are your biggest influences and inspirations? Recently, it's been watching, it's not even content creators sometimes. I've been watching a lot of TV shows that have been detective-y like shows like Unsolved Mysteries and what was it called again? Forensic Files. So a lot of my editing and narration and style has come from that recently. But if we're talking content creators, inspirations have come from GameSack, My Life in Gaming, Scott the Woz, believe it or not, Cadicarus or Cadicarus as I'll say. They're the main ones, and of course you got Angry Video Game Nerd. But lately, those people have been phased out in favour of going to the more traditional route of TV, and detective investigation shows have taken the point on that, and that's where I've gotten my latest style from. So if the videos look a bit or sound a bit slow or kind of more what's what I'm looking for, atmospheric compared to my older videos, that's why. Is there a game that heavily resonated with you that almost nobody is familiar with? Mine would be Ebets or Edis in your case. That one I'm not sure about, because most of the games that I've played that do resonate with me, most people already, have that memory as well. I guess the only games that resonate with me a lot that maybe the non-European people would not know of would be the World Rally Championship series of games on PS2. WRC2 Extreme. Whenever I play that game, I'm always so into the game and I'm yelling at it and I'm just turning corners. It's a rally game basically, and I love that game so much. It gives me a thrill whenever I play it, and it really scratches my rally-esque love for the sport. So that's probably it really, because any other game that I've played, everyone's got huge memories of those games, and I can't really pick one that resonates with me that people don't know about, because those games aren't very good. Are there any YouTubers you'd love to collaborate with in the future? Most of the people who I would love to collab with are probably people who do the same sort of things as me. I'd love to collab with Lai Bundy Jr. though, because I just love his stuff. I love his Fact Hunt episodes, and I feel that if he ever did reach out to me, I'd love to do a voiceover. I think that's like my #1 collab, well, not even a collab, just a feature on his channel. But I don't know, I don't want to beat around the bush with that one. We'll see, it's up to him, but regardless, I love his stuff. So Larry Bundy Jr., if you're watching this, you're awesome. But no, seriously, there are a ton of YouTubers I'd love to collab with, but due to time constraints, among other things, I don't think that's going to be a likely collab. I don't think a collab for me is going to happen anytime soon, but you never know what can happen with life as it goes on. And then the last question: Are you going to do more with? Are you going? And question four: And are you going to do more with Azalea 22 in the future? I hope so. I like to hope so. It's just, again, due to time constraints and other things, it's just hard for me to sit down and do anything because I have so little free time now, and because everyone does things at different times, it's hard for me to join in. I'd like to hope you'd also be interested in doing a collab or something in the future, but it's just time. Time is just not with me, but anything can change, so we'll see. Next up, it's Cybercon Gaming, and they ask, "Hey Afro, happy birthday in advance. Our question, what's your favourite cartoon growing up and why?" I think for me, that would be either Dragon Ball Z or Ed, Neddy. Those two shows are fantastic for different reasons. Dragon Ball Z because it's got a deep lore, epic fights, great soundtrack, great characters, and it lasted a long time, so if I was to watch it again, it'd take me a long time to finish it. And of course, you got all the movies as well. With Ed, Neddy, the humour, the style, it was just one of the most random cartoons I've ever seen in my life. And every time I watch it now, it just gets funnier and funnier and funnier. The first 4 seasons are, without question, the peak of Ed, Neddy. It's just so weird because the show's humour is all over the place, and then you got that hand-drawn style, which is very uncommon back in the late 90s and early noughties. Most cartoons, by the time that one came out, had gone to digital. So it was just a unique, funny, and just strange cartoon. And it's Canadian. So, of course, the Canadians had something cooked up that was going to shock us and make us remember it for the rest of our lives. And of course, the what was it called? They had that movie. Was it Big Picture Show or something? Anyway, it was the movie that came out like, 12 years ago now. That was the best way to end the series for me. It was such a great movie. I didn't see it when it was out back in 2009, but I saw it years later, and I was blown away of how good the ending to the show was. The last 2 seasons, season 5 and 6, were a bit meh. They were still good, but nowhere near as good as the first 4 seasons. But they're my 2 favourite shows. Okay, so the last question on YouTube comes from, I think that's pronounced Matthew Wismer. I'm sorry if I got your name wrong, I had to look at it. Anyway, they ask, I've got 2 questions for the Q&A. What's your birth year? And give us our top 10 favourite games across all platforms. So, birth year, well, 1993. And that's for the second question. That's very hard for me because I don't tend to have favourite games of all time sort of things. I'm sort of somebody who likes to play games. I may have favourites, but I don't categorise them into favourite games of all time. I can list off some games that I find that are my favourites. So, we have Gran Turismo 2, Forza Horizon 4, because I love that game. Then we've got Spider-Man Miles Morales, again, love that game. I love Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3, WRC 2 Extreme. Let's try and get some more other games. So on Xbox, we got, what was my favourite Xbox game lately? Ooh. I can't think on the spot, folks. That's why you have to rehearse your questions before you do anything. Don't know, I'm struggling. Oh, Guilty Gear, there we go. Guilty Gear, for crying out loud. I love Guilty Gear. Tekken, obviously. Huge fan of the Soul Calibur games. I love, let me think. I love Ace Combat. Ace Combat 7 especially is very good. And the Colin McRae games. You can see I'm struggling here because I'm trying to make it live, so. They're just some of the games that I love. Obviously, there's way more than that. Those are just the ones that come off the top of my head, but I'm just not somebody who has like a top 10 sort of persona. I just like to play games, and if they're my favourite, they're my favourite, so there you go. Okay, that was all of the YouTube questions. Unfortunately, there were none on Twitter, so let's just jump forward into Instagram, and then let's wrap this one up. So my first question comes from Kim Shaw, and I'm just so happy she's back on YouTube, by the way. So here's her 2 questions, and she asked me, if I could choose a name for my YouTube channel, what would it be? I honestly don't know, because I'm so synonymous with the Affro name, I can't think of anything else really. Anything else I could think of would either just be my name, which is never recommended usually, or it'd be some crazy thing, but I'll be honest, I'm not the most creative when it comes to names, so truth be told, I probably could think of something if I really put my mind to it, but right now, just Affro is just synonymous with me, and that's just the name I want to go with, and everything I've ever done has had the word Affro somewhere in it, so you know it's me with 2 F's. So I don't know, I really can't think of an alternate name I'd call myself had Affro been taken. And another question from her, top 5 things on your bucket list. First one, travel to another country, doesn't matter which one, probably somewhere in Europe or the United States. Second thing on my bucket list, to drive a very fast car before it's too late, because obviously the government wants everyone to be on electric cars. The third one would be to have an epic collab with somebody, maybe somebody big on YouTube, but it doesn't matter. The fourth one on my bucket list is to have a job where I can, you know, enjoy it, love it, you know, basically love it as much as I do YouTube, and get paid well enough so that I can not worry about money anymore. I know that one's a bit shallow, I know, but it's true. And my last one, well, it's to be more involved with like media production-y stuff. So to go out there, shoot with my camera, or you know, interview people, or basically work for somebody in media production, and obviously be a presenter. That'd be fantastic. I'd love to be a presenter. Basically what I'm doing now here on YouTube, but more professional and better. So that's Kim Shaw's questions for you there. Thank you for them, by the way. Okay, I think we got 2 more questions. I got one from eJock Gamer here, and they say, do you think there will be any other consoles in the future that will outsell the PlayStation 2? Maybe, but the PlayStation 2 was just a unique console at a very unique time. It sold so well to the point where nothing could catch it other than the DS, which just about missed it by about 3 million units or so. I think there will be a console in the future that will sell more than PlayStation 2, but whether it will happen now or years down the line, I don't know. The Switch has a good chance, the PS5 may have a good chance. I don't think they'll get to 150 million though, but they will sell extremely well. Easily the Switch will sell over 100 million. I don't know if it will sell enough to reach the PS2's lifetime sales, but it'll be close. I don't think the PS5 will make it due to its higher price at the moment and due to the pandemic and what's happened to supply, but again, a console in the future will eventually beat the PS2, but I'm so glad the PS2 is still the best selling because I love that system. I grew up with the system. My system is now 19 years old. It still works great. And there's so many great games on PlayStation 2. It makes you wonder, can you really get through its entire library in your lifetime? So we shall see about that one. And it looks like the final question comes from Elise the Wise, who is a fantastic content creator, by the way. If you don't follow her on Twitch or Instagram, I advise you do. She's amazing. Anyway, her questions are, what is, in your opinion, the best controller over all platforms and why? This one is so easy. The PlayStation 5 DualSense controller is it's fantastic. It feels great in the hand. It's got the correct weight on it. It feels really ergonomic in your hands. The adaptive and dynamic vibrations are superb. The haptic feedback on the triggers just feel really satisfying to use. And I think it looks good. I know not everyone agrees with me on that one, but I think the controller looks really good, very futuristic, very 2021. You know, it looks really up to date and modern. And I just love its two-tone black and white look. I know, again, not everyone likes it, but I think the PS5 controller truly is the best controller of all time. Not just because of how it feels in the hand, but because of how Sony have allowed the technology to really change the way you feel and play games. Other than the PS5 controller though, I think the Xbox 360 is a good second place. The only thing that lets it down for me is its D-pad, which is terrible in my opinion, but other than that, that controller is the second best controller of all time. Well folks, that's that. That's all of the questions and answers for my birthday Q&A. I want to thank you guys all again for providing me the questions, and I hope that the answers I've given to you folks was satisfactory and just a lot of fun to see me try and answer in the first place. I got some very strange questions in there, but hey, it's part of the fun. That's why Q&As are just a great way to see how people react and how they try and think about answering questions. Regardless folks, hopefully I will get to see you all again next time.